Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Keshavarita Purma Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Keshavarita Sukara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Keshavarita Vamana Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha
Kshatriya Shiramaye Jagada Bhagata Bhava Papadasaya Visavana Bhavakapa Keshavadita Prigumati Rupa Jagadisha
Keshavadita Rama Sharira Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Vitara Siddhurane Vipasita Manira Dasamukha Mauri Bani Ramanira Keshavadita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Nandasiya Kya Vidheraha Sukijatam Gadaya Hiraya Rashika Pasugatam Keshavadita Buddha Sharira Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Keshavadita Buddha Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Yachariya Ralidane Kalayasi Karavalam Lumakitomiva Kimapi Karalam Keshavadita Karti Sharira Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Yeshanilahadita Veta Yasika Ravalam Dhumaketumiva Kimapi Karavam Keshavadita Karti Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Deva Kaveri Kamri Kamudaram Vino Sukadam Sukadambu Keshavadita Nada Keshavadita Dasavira Rupa Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Jai Ragadisha Hare Jaya Deva Vina Sukadam Subhadam Bhavasaram Keshavadita Dasavira Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Can you read the English translation? Or Deutsch? Haben wir auch Deutsch?
Auf Englisch. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a fish, all glories to you. You easily acted as a boat in the form of a giant fish, just to give protection to the Vedas, which had become immersed in the turbulent sea of devastation. 2. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a tortoise, all glories to you. In this incarnation as a divine tortoise, the great Mandara mountain rests upon your gigantic back as a pivot for churning the ocean of milk. From holding up the huge mountain, a large scar-like depression is put in your back, which has become the most glorious. 3. O Lord Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a boar, all glories to you. The earth, which has become immersed in the Garbhodaka ocean at the bottom of the universe, sits fixed upon your tip of your tusk like a spot under the moon. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a half man, half lion, all glories to you. Just as one can easily crush a wasp between one's fingernails, so in the same way the body of the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu has been ripped apart by the wonderful pointing nails of your beautiful lotus hand. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a dwarf Brahmana, all glories to you. O wonderful dwarf, by your massive steps you deceive King Bali, and by the Ganges water that has emanated from the nails of your lotus feet, you deliver all living beings within this world. 6. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Brigupati, Parashuram, all glories to you. O at Kurukshetra you bathe the earth in the river of blood from the bodies of the Brahmanic Kshatriyas that you have slain. The sins of the world are washed away by you, and because of you people are relieved from the blazing fire of material existence. 7. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Ramachandra, all glories to you. In the battle of Lanka, you destroyed the 10-headed demon Ravana and distributed his heads as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions, headed by Indra. This action was long desired by all of them who were much harassed by this monster. 8. O Keshava, Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Balaram, the wielder of the plough, all glories to you. On your brilliant white body, you wear garments of color, the color of a fresh blue rain cloud. These garments are colored like a beautiful dark hue of the river Yamuna, who feels great fear due to the striking of your plowshare. 9. O Keshava, Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a Buddha, all glories to you. O Buddha of compassionate heart, you decry the slaughtering of poor animals performed according to the rules of Vedic sacrifice. 10. O Keshava, Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Kalki, all glories to you. You appear like a comet and carry a terrifying sword for bringing about the annihilation of the wicked barbarian man at the end of the Kali Yuga. 11. O Keshava, Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the 10 different forms of incarnations, all glories to you. O readers, please hear this hymn of the poet Jayadev, which is most excellent and a worder of happiness, bestower of auspiciousness, and is the best thing in this dark world.
Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, I decided to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, especially the chapter where the Singadev appears. And we read the first verse, and then I'll just continue reading. Srinara Ruvacha Adhadaitya Sutta Sarve Sujvatat Anuvarnitam Jagrihura Nara Vadyatvam Naiva Guru Anushikshitam. Jemand?
Shri Narada Uvacha
Shri Narada Uvacha
Atadaitya Sutta Sarve
Atadaitya Sutta Sarve
Shrutva Tad Anuvadnitam
Shrutva Anuvadnitam
Jagrihur Niravadyatvam
Jagrihur Niravadyatvam
Naiva Gurvanu Shikshitam
Naiva Gurvanu Shikshitam.
Shri Narada Uvacha Atadaitya Sutta Sarve Shri
Jagrihur Niravadyatvam Sie solltet ihr für eine Singerlied. Ihr solltet auf dem Altar ein größeres Bild von der Singerlied haben. Ja? Und da passt die bestimmt auch. Ach, von dir?
Ja, das sind von Lieds.
Tja. So? Okay. Shri Narada Uvacha.
Shri Narada Uvacha
Shri Narada Muni said.
Shri Narada said
Tata. Thereupon. Daitya. Daitya Sutta. The sons of the demons. The class friends of Prahlad Maharaj. Sarve. All. Shrutva. Hearing. Tat. By him. Prahlad. Anuvarnitam. The statements about devotional life. Jagrihu. Accepted. Niravadyatvat. Due to the supreme utility of that instruction. Na, not, eva, indeed. Guru Anushikshitam. That which was taught by their teachers. Translation. Narada Muni continued. All the sons of the demons appreciated the transcendental instructions of Prahlad Maharaj and took them very seriously. They rejected the materialistic instructions given by their teachers, Sanda and Amarka. Purport. This is the effect of the preaching of a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. If a devotee is qualified, sincere and serious about Krishna consciousness, and if he follows the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, as Prahlad Maharaj did when preaching the instructions he had received from Narada Muni, his preaching is effective. As it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti rit karna rasayana kataha. If one tries to understand the discourses given by the Sat, or pure devotee, or pure devotees, those instructions will be very pleasing to the ear and appealing to the heart. Thus, if one is inspired to take to Krishna consciousness, and if one practices the process in his life, he is surely successful in returning home back to Godhead. By the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became Vaishnavas. They did not like hearing from their so-called teachers, Sanda and Amarka, who were interested only in teaching them about diplomacy, politics, economic development, and similar topics meant exclusively for sense gratification. So I will continue. Atachaya sutastesham buddhim ekandasam sitam alakshya bitas tvarito rakya avedayat yatar. When Sanda and Amarka, the sons of Sukaracharya, observed that all the students, the sons of the demons, were becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness because of the association of Prahlad Maharaj, they were afraid. They approached the king of the demons and described the situation as it was. The words Buddhim ekanta sangstitam indicate that as an effect of Prahlad Maharaj's preaching, the students who listened to him became fixed in the conclusion that Krishna consciousness is the only object of human life. The fact is that anyone who associates with a pure devotee and follows his instructions becomes fixed in Krishna consciousness and is not disturbed by materialistic consciousness. The teachers particularly observed this in their students, and therefore they were afraid, because the whole community of students was gradually becoming Krishna conscious. Gopaveshacharagatra putram hantum manodade shitava parushaya vacha paradam atad arhanam aekshamana papina tirashchinena chakshusha prashraya vannatam dantam badhan jalim avastitam Sarapa padahata iva swasan prakriti darunaha. When Hiranyakashipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much that his body trembled. Thus he finally decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was by nature very cruel, and feeling incited, he began hissing like a snake trampled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlad was peaceful, mild and gentle. His senses were under control, and he stood before Hiranyakashipu with folded hands. According to Prahlad's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised, yet with staring, crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. When one is impudent towards a highly authorized devotee, one is punished by the laws of nature. The duration of his life is diminished, and he loses the blessings of superior persons and the results of pious activities. Hiranyakashipu, for example, had achieved such great power in the material world that he could subdue practically all the planetary systems in the universe, including the heavenly planets, Svargaloka. Yet now, because of his mistreatment of such a Vaishnava as Prahlad Maharaj, all the results of his tapasya diminished, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.4.46. Ayushriyam yashodharmam lokanashisha evacha hanti shiyang si sarvani pungsomahat atikramaha. When one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. Shri Hiranyakashipu vacha he durvinita mandatma kula veda karadama stabdham machcha sanodvitam neshi tvadyayam. Hiranyakashipu said, O most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of the family, O lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you, and therefore you are an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the place of Yamaraj. Hiranyakashipu condemned his Vaishnava son Prahlad for being Durvinita, ungentle, uncivilized, or impudent. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, however, has derived a meaning from these words, Durvinita, by the mercy of the goddess of learning, Saraswati. He says that Du refers to this material world. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna in his instruction in Bhagavad Gita, that this material world is dukalayam, full of material conditions. Vi means Vishesha, specificity, and Nita means brought in. By the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Prahlad Maharaj was especially brought to this material world to teach people how to get out of the material condition. Lord Krishna says, Yada yada hidharmasya yani bhavate bharata. When the entire population or part of it becomes forgetful of its own duty, Krishna comes. When Krishna is not present, a devotee is present. But the mission is the same, to free the pure conditioned souls from the clutches of the Maya that chastises them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further explains that the word mandatman means manda, very bad or very slow in spiritual realization. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.10, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya. Prahlad Maharaj is the guide of all the mandas, or bad living entities who are under the influence of Maya. He is the benefactor even of the slow and bad living entities in this material world. Kula Beda Karadhama. By his actions, Prahlad Maharaj made great personalities who established big families. Big families seem insignificant. Everyone is interested in his own family and making his dynasty famous. But Prahlad Maharaj was so liberal that he made no distinction between one living entity and another. Therefore, he was greater than the great Prajapatis who established their dynasties. The word stamdham means obstinate. A devotee does not care for the instructions of the asuras. When they give instructions, he remains silent. A devotee cares about the instructions of Krishna, not those of demons or non-devotees. He does not give any respect to a demon, even though the demon be his father. Machasa no dritam. Prahlad Maharaj was disobedient to the orders of his demonic father. Yamakshayam. Every conditioned soul is under the control of Yamaraj. But Hiranyakashipu said that he considered Prahlad Maharaj his deliverer. Prahlad Maharaj was disobedient to the order of his demonic father, Yamakshayam. Every conditioned soul is under the control of Yamaraj. But Hiranyakashipu said that he considered Prahlad Maharaj his deliverer, for Prahlad would stop Hiranyakashipu's repetition of birth and death. Because Prahlad Maharaj, being a great devotee, was better than any yogi, Hiranyakashipu was to be brought among the society of Bhakti yogis. Thus, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained these words in a very interesting way, as they can be interpreted from the side of Saraswati, the mother of learning. Krudasya yasya kampante trayoloka saheshwaraha tasya me vidvahan muda shasanam kim balo tyagaha. My son Prahlad, you rascal, you know that when I am angry, all the planets of the three worlds tremble, along with their chief rulers. But by whose power has a rascal that you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? The relationship between a pure devotee and the Supreme Person of Godhead is extremely relishable. A devotee never claims to be very powerful himself. Instead, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of Krishna, being confident that in all dangerous conditions, Krishna will protect his devotee. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita 9:31, Kaunteya parijanihi namibhakta payasati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. The Lord requested Arjuna to declare this instead of declaring it himself, because sometimes Krishna changes his view and therefore people might not believe him. Thus Krishna asked Arjuna to declare a devotee of the Lord never vanquishes. Hiranyakashipu was perplexed about how his 5-year-old boy could be so fearless that he did not care for the order of his very great and powerful father. A devotee cannot execute the order of anyone except the Supreme Person of Godhead. This is the position of a devotee. Hiranyakashipu could understand that this boy must have been very powerful, since the boy did not heed his orders. Hiranyakashipu asked his son, Kim Bala, how have you overcome my power? By whose strength have you done this? Shri Pararubacha Nakevalam Eva Vatashcharajan Savai Balam Balinam Chaparisham Parivaremi Stira Jangamaye Brahmadayo Yena Vasham Pranitaha. Prahlad Maharaj said, My dear king, the source of my strength, of which you are asking, is also the source of yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only your strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength. Whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior, everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Yat yat viva hutimat sattvam shimat ujitum evava tat tat eva gachatvam mamatejam sha sambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. This is confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. If one sees extraordinary strength or power anywhere, it is derived from the Supreme Person of Godhead. To give an example, there are different grades of fire, but all of them derive heat and light from the sun. Similarly, all living entities, big or small, are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Person of Godhead. One's only duty is to surrender, for one is a servant and cannot independently attain the position of master. One can attain the position of master only by the mercy of the master, not independently. Unless one understands this philosophy, he is still a mudha. In other words, he is not very intelligent. The mudhas, the asses, who do not have this intelligence cannot surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding the subordinate position of the living entity takes millions of births. But when one is actually wise, he surrenders unto the Supreme Person of Godhead. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Bahunam jamanamante jnanavanmam papadyante vasudeva samamiti samahatma sudulavaha. After many births and death, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Prahlad Maharaj was a great soul, a Mahatma, and therefore he completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. He was confident that Krishna would give him protection under all circumstances. Saishvara kala urukramo sao oja saha sattva balalindriyatma Saiva Vishwam Paramasva Shakshivi Sri Jati Avati Ati Gunat Trayeshaha. The Supreme Person of Godhead, who is the Supreme Controller and Time Factor, is the power of the senses, the power of the mind, the power of the body, and the vital force of the senses. His influence is unlimited. He is the best of all living entities, the controller of the three modes of material nature. By his own power, he creates this cosmic manifestation, maintains it, and annihilates it also. Short purport. Since the material world is being moved by the three modes, and since the Lord is their master, the Lord can create, maintain, and destroy the material world. Jahiya sudam bhavam mimam tvam atmanaha samam manodvastvana shatna santi vidvishaha ritejitam atmana atpate stitat taddihi anantasya mahat samarhanam. Prahlad Maharaj continued, my dear father, please give up your demonic mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within the world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshipping the Lord perfectly. Unless one is able to fix the mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, the mind is impossible to control. As Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita 6:34, Chanchanam himana Krishna pramahi balavatritam tasyaham nikraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, it seems to me, is more difficult than controlling the wind. The only bona fide process of controlling the mind is to fix the mind by service to the Lord. We create enemies and friends according to the dictation of the mind, but actually there are no enemies and friends. Pandita samadarshina sama sarveshu bhuteshu mat bhaktim labate param. To understand this is the preliminary condition for entering into the kingdom of devotion. Tasyum parasanna vichityalum pato manyante yasvachitadi sudasha Titatmano yasya samasya dehinam Sadhu swamoha prabhava kutapare. In former times there were many fools like you who did not conquer the 6 enemies that steal away the wealth of the body. These fools are very proud, thinking, I have conquered all enemies in all the 10 directions. But if a person is victorious over the 6 enemies and is equipoised toward all living entities, for him there's no enemies. Enemies are merely imagined by one in ignorance. So he's still speaking to his father. He says, in former times there are many fools like you. Okay. In this material world, everyone thinks that he has conquered his enemies, not understanding that his enemies are his controlled mind and 5 senses. Mana shatan niyani prakritishtani karshati. In this material world, everyone has become a servant of the senses. Originally, everyone is servant of Krishna, but in ignorance one forgets this, and thus one is engaged in the service of Maya through lusty desires, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. Everyone is actually dependent on the reactions of the material laws, but still one thinks himself independent and thinks that he has conquered all directions. In conclusion, one who thinks that he has many enemies is an ignorant man, whereas one who is in Krishna consciousness knows that there are no enemies but those within himself, the uncontrolled mind and senses. Shri Hiranyakashipuruvacha Vyaktam Tvam Martu Kamosi Yoti Matram Vikattase Mumukshaunam hi mandatmam manusyura vikravagiraha. Hiranyakashipu replied, "You rascal, you are trying to minimize my value, as if you were better than me controlling the senses. This is overintelligence. I can therefore understand that you desire to die at my hands, for this kind of nonsensical talk is indulged in by those about to die." The Prabhupada said, it is said in the Hitopadesha, Upadesho hi mukhanam prakayapa sashantaye. If good instructions are given to a foolish person, he does not take advantage of them, but becomes more and more angry. Prahlad Maharaj authorized instructions to his father were not accepted by Hiranyakashipu as truth. Instead, Hiranyakashipu became increasingly angry at his great son, who was a pure devotee. This kind of difficulty always exists when a devotee preaches Krishna consciousness to persons like Hiranyakashipu, who are interested in money and women. The word Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu refers to cushions or good bedding. Moreover, a father does not like to be instructed by his son, especially if the father is a demon. Prahlad Maharaj, the Vaishnava, preaching to his demonic father was indirectly effective, for because of Hiranyakashipu's excessive jealousy of Krishna and his devotee, he was inviting Nrsingadeva to kill him very quickly. Thus he was expediting his being killed by the Lord himself. Although Hiranyakashipu was a demon, he is described here by the added word Shri. Why? The answer is that fortunately he had such a great devotee son as Prahlad Maharaj. Thus, although he was a demon, he would attain salvation and return home back to Godhead. So fortunate. No? Yastaya manda bhagyoto madanyo jagadishvaraha kvasau yadi sarvatra kasmat sambhena drishyate. O most unfortunate Prahlad, you have always described a supreme being other than me, a supreme being who is above everything, who is a controller of everyone, and who is all-pervading. But where is he? If he is everywhere, then why is he not present before me in this pillar? Purple. Demons sometimes declare to a devotee that they cannot accept the existence of God because they cannot see him. I just had a discussion a few days ago in the prasadam room with some person who had this attitude. Even though he described himself as a practitioner of yoga and all that, and he became actually very arrogant. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by Yoga Maya. The Lord is open to being seen by devotees, but non-devotees cannot see him. The qualification for seeing God is stated in Brahma Samhita 5:38. Premanjana churita bhakti velonena sanda sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. A devotee who has developed a genuine love for Krishna can always see him everywhere, whereas a demon, not having a clear understanding of the Supreme Lord, cannot see him. When Hiranyakashipu was threatening to kill Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad certainly saw the column standing before him and his father, and he saw that the Lord was present in the pillar to encourage him not to fear his demonic father's words. The Lord was present to protect him. Hiranyakashipu marked Prahlad's observation and asked him, "Where's your God?" Prahlad Maharaj replied, "He's everywhere. When Hiranyakashipu asked, why is not in this pillar before me? Thus in all circumstances the devotee can always see the Supreme Lord, whereas the non-devotees cannot. Prahlad Maharaj has here been addressed by his father as the most unfortunate. Hiranyakashipu thought himself extremely fortunate because he possessed the property of the universe. Prahlad Maharaj, his legitimate son, was to have inherited this vast property, but because of his impudence, he was going to die at his father's hands. Therefore, the demonic father considered Prahlad the most unfortunate, because Prahlad would not be able to inherit his property. Hiranyakashipu did not know that Prahlad Maharaj was the most fortunate person within the three worlds, because Prahlad was protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such are the misunderstandings of demons. They do not know that the devotee is protected by the Lord in all circumstances. Kaunteya paritanihi name bhakta panashyati. Soham bhakatamanasya shira kaya tadaramite prapayita harishtvadya yaste sharanam ipsitam. Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipful God come to protect you. I want to see it. Purport. Demons always think that the God of the devotees is fictitious. They think that there is no God, and that the so-called religious feelings of devotion to God is but an opiate, a kind of illusion, like the illusions derived from LSD and opium. Hiranyakashipu did not believe Prahlad Maharaj when Prahlad asserted that his Lord is present everywhere, because Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, was convicted that there is no God and that no one could protect Prahlad. He felt encouraged to kill his son. He challenged the idea that devotee is always protected by the Supreme Lord. Paul mentions here that the atheists sometimes, like Karl Marx, he actually said that, that religion is opiate. How is it? Opiate for the people. Evam duraktair muhur agyan rusha sutam maha bhagavatam mahasuraha khadgam pradgriyot patito varasanat stambham tadadi balasva mushtina. Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu, who was very great in bodily strength, thus chastised his exalted devotee son with harsh words. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up a sword, got up from the royal throne, and with great anger struck his fist against the column. Tadeva tasminnadho tibishano babhuva yenanda kataham usputat yam vaisva vishnyo pagatam tva jadayaha shudhavasva dharmat yayam angami menire. Then from within the pillar came a fearful sound, which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. O my dear Yudhishthira, this sound reached even the abodes of the demon. O my dear Yudhishthira, this sound reached even the abodes of the demigods, like Lord Brahma. And when the demigods heard it, they thought, oh, now our planets are being destroyed. Purport. As we sometimes become very much afraid at the sound of thunderbolt, perhaps thinking that our houses will be destroyed, the great demigods like Lord Brahma feared the thundering sound that came from the pillar in front of Hiranyakashipu. Savikramam putra vadipsura ojasa nishamya nidradam puravam adbhutam anta savayam na dadarsa tatpadam vitatra suryena surari yutapaha. While showing his extraordinary powers, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful tumultuous sound, which had never before been heard. Upon hearing the sound, the other leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of that sound in the assembly. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7 and 8, Krishna explains himself by saying, Rasuham apsu kaunteya pravasmadasya shashi suyayo pranava sarva vedeshu sabhake purusham drishu. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Here the Lord exhibited his presence everywhere by the tumultuous sound in the sky, Shabdake. The tumultuous thundering sound was proof of the Lord's presence. The demons like Hiranyakashipu could not realize the supreme ruling power of the Lord, and thus Hiranyakashipu became afraid. However powerful a man may be, he always fears the sound of a thunderbolt. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu and all the demons who were his associates were extremely afraid because of the presence of the Supreme Lord in the form of sound, although they could not trace out the source of the sound. Satyam vidatum nija britya vasitam vyaptim cha bhuteshva kileshu chatmanaha adrishyata chya bhuta rupam udvaham stambhe sabharyam samrigam na manusham. To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlad was substantial, in other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of an assembly hall, the Supreme Person of God at Hari exhibited a wonderful form never before seen. The form was neither that of a man nor that of a lion. Thus the Lord appeared in his wonderful form in the assembly hall. Purport. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj, "Where's your Lord? Is he present in this pillar?" Prahlad Maharaj fearlessly replied, "Yes, my Lord, is present everywhere." Therefore, to convince Hiranyakashipu that the statement of Prahlad Maharaj was unmistakably true, the Lord appeared from the pillar. The Lord appeared as half lion and half man, so that Hiranyakashipu could not understand whether the great giant was a lion or human being. To substantiate Prahlad's statement, the Lord proved that his devotee, as declared in Bhagavad Gita, is never vanquished. Kaunteya pranishanihi name bhakta pranishati. Prahlad Maharaj's demonic father had repeatedly threatened to kill Prahlad, but Prahlad was confident that he could not be killed, since he was protected by the Supreme Lord. By appearing from the pillar, the Lord encouraged his devotee, saying in effect, "Don't worry, I'm present here." By manifesting his form as Nrsingadeva, the Lord also preserved the truth of Lord Brahma's promise that Hiranyakashipu was not to be killed by manifesting his form as Nrsingadeva, the Lord also preserved the truth of Lord Brahma's promise that Hiranyakashipu was not to be killed by any animal or any man. The Lord appeared in a form that could not be said to be fully a man or lion. Sa sattvam menam parito vipashyan sambhasya matyad anunirji hanam nayam rigo napi naro vichitram aho kim mitandri mitam mrigendra rupam. While Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound, that wonderful form of the Lord, which could not be ascertained to be either man or lion, emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, what is this creature that is half man and half lion? A demon cannot calculate the unlimited potency of the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Vedas, Parasa Shakti Vividevashi Suyate Svabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. The different potencies of the Lord are always working as an automatic exhibition of his knowledge. For a demon, it is certainly wonderful that the form of the lion and the form of the man can be united, since the demon has no experience of the inconceivable power for which the Supreme Lord is called all-powerful. Demons cannot understand the omnipotence of the Lord. They simply compare the Lord to one of them. Avajanandiman mudha manushamtanam ashritam. Mudhas, rascals, think that Krishna is an ordinary human being who appears for the benefit of other human beings. Param bhava majananto. Fools, rascals, and demons cannot realize the supreme potency of the Lord, but he can do anything and everything. Indeed, he can do whatever he likes. When Hiranyakashipu received benedictions from Lord Brahma, he thought that he was safe, since he received the benediction that he would not be killed either by an animal or by a human being. He never thought that an animal and a human being would be combined so that demons like him could be puzzled by such a form. This is the meaning of the Supreme Persons of God, Godhead's omnipotence. Dann 3 Verse zusammen. Mimang samanasya samuttito vrato nrisingharupastat alam bhayanakam pratakta chamikara chandarochanam spurat sata keshara drimbhitanam kararadam stram karabala chanyacha chanchala shurante jivam burutkuti muhulvanam stabhoratvakaram giri kadara bhuta vyatasya nasam hanubeda pishanam divi sprishat kayam adirga pivara pivoru vaksha stalam abhamadhyamam Chandrangshu Gauradesh Churitam Tanuruhair Vijavakabujanika Satam Hayudam Durasadam Sarva Nichetarayuda Praveka Vadrivita Daitadanam. Translation. Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord, trying to decide who the form of Nrsingadeva standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold, his shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful face, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue, which moved about like a dueling sword. His ears were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouths appeared like the caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and his hairs on his body were white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues and atheists with his conch shell, disc, club, lotus and other natural weapons. Prayena me yam hiranurumahina vadhasmito nena samudyatena kim evam bruvangstva vyapatat gadayudo nadan risingham pati daitya kunjaraha. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, Lord Vishnu, who possesses great mystic power, has made this plan to kill me. But what is the use of such an attempt? Who can fight with me? Thinking like this and taking up his club, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord like an elephant. In the jungle, there are sometimes fights between lions and elephants. Here, the Lord appeared like a lion, and Hiranyakashipu, unafraid of the Lord, attacked him like an elephant. Generally, the elephant is defeated by the lion, and therefore the comparison in this verse is appropriate. Alakshito gnau patita patangamo yata nrisinghau jasi so surastada da tatvichitram kalu satvadamini damani Svatejasa yonu purabi bhattamaha. Just as a small insect falls forcefully into a fire and the insignificant creature becomes invisible, when Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord, who was full of effulgence, Hiranyakashipu became invisible. This is not at all astonishing, for the Lord is always situated in pure goodness. Formerly, during creation, he entered the dark universe and illuminated it by his spiritual effulgence. Purport. The Lord is situated transcendentally in pure goodness. The material world is generally controlled by tamoguna, the quality of ignorance, but the spiritual world, because of the presence of the Lord and his effulgence, is free from all contamination by darkness, passion, or contaminated goodness. Although there's a tinge of goodness in this material world in terms of the Brahminical qualifications, such qualifications sometimes become invisible because of the strong prevalence of the mode of passion and the modes of passion and ignorance. But because the Lord is always transcendently situated, the material modes of passion and ignorance cannot touch him. Whenever the Lord is present, there cannot be any darkness from the mode of ignorance. It is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:31. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakara Yahan Krishna Tahanahi Maya Radhikara. Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. This material world is full of darkness and ignorance of spiritual life. But by Bhakti Yoga, this ignorance is dissipated. The Lord appeared because of the Bhakti Yoga exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj. And as soon as the Lord appeared, the effulgence of Hiranyakashipu's passion and ignorance was vanquished. As the Lord's quality of pure devotee, try it again. The Lord appeared because of the Bhakti Yoga exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj. And as soon as the Lord appeared, the influence of Hiranyakashipu's passion and ignorance was vanquished. As the Lord's quality of pure goodness, or the Brahman effulgence, became prominent. In that prominent effulgence, Hiranyakashipu became invisible, or his influence became insignificant. An example illustrating how the darkness of the material world is vanquished is given in the Shastra. When Brahma was created from the lotus stem growing from the abdomen of Gauradesh Vishnu, Lord Brahma saw everything to be dark. But when he received knowledge from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything became clear. as everything becomes clear when one comes from night to sunshine. The important point is that as long as we are in the material modes of nature, we are always in darkness. This darkness cannot be dissipated without the presence of the Supreme Personal Godhead, which is invoked by the practice of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga creates a transcendental situation with no tinge of material contamination. Tato vipatyabhyahanam mahasuro rusha nrisingham garayo vegaya tam vikramantam sagatam gadadharo mahoragam tarkshya suto yadhargrahit. Therefore, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, who was extremely angry, swiftly attacked Nrsingadeva with his club and began to beat him. Lord Nrsingadeva, however, captured the great demon along with his club, just as Garuda might capture a great snake. Sadasya hasto kalitas tadasuro vikridato yatvat ahira gurat mataha asadva manyanta rita kasho mara kausomara khana chadha bharata sarva dishnyāpaha. O Yudhishthira, O great son of Bharata, when Lord Nrsingadeva gave Hiranyakashipu a chance to slip from his hand, just as Garuda sometimes plays with a snake and lets it slip from his mouth, the demigods who had lost their abodes and who were hiding behind the clouds for fear of the demon did not consider that incident very good. Indeed, they were perturbed. Purport. When Hiranyakashipu was in the process of being killed by Lord Nrsingadeva, the Lord gave the demon a chance to slip from his clutches. Thus, this incident was not very much appreciated by the demigods, for they were greatly afraid of Hiranyakashipu. They knew that if somehow or other Hiranyakashipu escaped from Nrsingadeva's hands and saw that the demigods were looking forward to his death with great pleasure, he would take great revenge upon them. Therefore, they were very much afraid. Tammanyamano nitya virya sankitam yaddashtamokto nriharim mahasuraha punastam asajjata khadga charmani pragritya veganagato shramam viridhe. When Hiranyakashipu was freed from the hands of Nrsingadeva, he falsely thought that the Lord was afraid of his powers. Therefore, after taking a little rest from the fight, he took up his sword and shield and again attacked the Lord with great force. Purport. When a sinful man enjoys material facilities, foolish people sometimes think, how is it that this sinful man is enjoying, whereas a pious man is suffering? By the will of the Supreme, a sinful man is sometimes given the chance to enjoy the material world, as if he were not under the clutches of material nature, just so that he may be fooled. A sinful man who acts against the laws of nature must be punished. But sometimes he is given a chance to play, exactly like Hiranyakashipu when he was released from the hands of Nrsingadeva. Hiranyakashipu was destined to be ultimately killed by Nrsingadeva, but just to see the fun, the Lord gave him a chance to slip from his hands. Tam shena begam sata chandra vatmavish charantam achidram upari adhoharihi krivatta hasam karam utsvanulbanam nimidli taksham jagrihe mahajavaha. making a loud, shrill sound of laughter. The Supreme Person of Godhead, Narayana, who is extremely strong and powerful, captured Hiranyakashipu, who was protecting himself with his sword and shield, leaving no gaps open. With the speed of a hawk, Hiranyakashipu moved sometimes in the sky and sometimes in the earth, his eyes closed because of fear of the Singadeva's laughter. Vishvakspurantam grahanaturam harir vyalo yata kurishakshata tvacham dvari urum upatya dadhara lilaya naghai yatha him karudo mahavisham. As a snake captured a mouse, or Garuda captures a very venomous snake, Lord Nrsingadeva captured Hiranyakashipu, who could not be pierced even by the thunderbolt of King Indra. As Hiranyakashipu moved his limbs here, there, and all around, very much afflicted at being captured, Lord Nrsingadeva placed the demon on his lap, supporting him with his thighs. And in the doorway of the assembly hall, the Lord very easily tore the demon to pieces with his nails in his hands. Well, we have a theater today. You didn't prepare anything? No. Hiranyakashipu had received from Lord Brahma the benediction that he would not die on the land or in the sky. Therefore, to keep the promise of Lord Brahma intact, Nrsingadeva placed Hiranyakashipu's body on his lap, which was neither land nor sky. Hiranyakashipu had received the benediction that he would not die either during the day or at night. Therefore, to keep this promise of Brahma, the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu in the evening, which is the end of day and the beginning of night, but is neither day nor night. Hiranyakashipu had taken the benediction from Lord Brahma that he would not die from any weapon or be killed by any person, dead or alive. Therefore, just to keep the word of Lord Brahma, Lord Nrsingadeva pierced Hiranyakashipu's body with his nails, which were not weapons and were neither living nor dead. Indeed, the nails can be called dead, but at the same time they can be said to be alive. To keep intact all of Lord Brahma's benedictions, Lord Nrsingadeva paradoxically but very easily killed the great demon Hiranyakashipu. Samramba dushprikshya karala lochano yatananantam virihansva jivhaya asriklava taruna kesharanano yatandramali dvipahatyaya harihi. Lord Nrsingadeva's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood, and his fierce eyes, full of anger, were impossible to look at. Licking the edge of his mouth with his tongue, the Supreme Person of God and Nrsingadeva, decorated with a garland of intestines taken from Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, resembled a lion that had just killed an elephant. The hair on Nrsingadeva's face, being sprinkled with drops of blood, was reddish and looked very beautiful. Lord Nrsingadeva pierced Hiranyakashipu's abdomen with his nails, pulled out the demon's intestines, and wore them as a garland, which enhanced his beauty. Thus the Lord became very fearsome, like a lion engaged in fighting an elephant. Naghan kuro patita rit saroruham Visaritya tasyanucharan dayudan aham samastanaka shastapanivid drodhanda yudho nupathan sahasrasaha. The Supreme Person of Godhead, who had many, many arms, first uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart and then threw him aside and turned towards the demon soldiers. These soldiers had come in thousands to fight with him with raids, weapons, and were very faithful followers of Hiranyakashipu. But Lord Nrsingadeva killed all of them merely with the ends of his nails. Since the creation of the material world, there have been two kinds of men, the Devas and the Asuras. The Devas are always faithful to the Supreme Person of Godhead, whereas the Asuras are always atheists who defy the supremacy of the Lord. At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the atheists are extremely numerous. They are trying to prove that there is no God and that everything takes place due to combinations and permutations of material elements. Thus, the material world is becoming more and more godless, and consequently everything is in a disturbed condition. If this continues, the Supreme Prince of Godhead will certainly take action, as he did in the case of Hiranyakashipu. Within a second, Hiranyakashipu and his followers were destroyed. And similarly, if this godless civilization continues, it will be destroyed in a second, simply by the movement of one finger of the Supreme Prince of Godhead. The demons should therefore be careful and curtail their godless civilization. They should take advantage of the Krishna conscious movement and become faithful to the Supreme Person of Godhead. Otherwise, they are doomed. As Hiranyakashipu was killed in a second, the godless civilization can be destroyed at any moment. Satavaduta jalada parapatam grahaschata drishti vimushtarochisaha ambodhaya swashta hata vichukshur nirradha vita diha vichukshushahu. The hair on the Nrsingadeva's head shook the clouds and scattered them here and there. His glaring eyes stole the effulgence of the luminaries in the sky, and his breathing agitated the seas and ocean. Because of his roaring, all the elephants in the world began to cry in fear. Purport. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Yat yat vimumtat sattvam Srimaduchitam me bhava tat tat eva kachatvam mamachecham sambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. The illumination of the planets and stars in the sky is but a partial manifestation of the Lord's effulgence. There are many wonderful qualities of different living entities, but whatever extraordinary things exist are but part of the Lord's teachers, his illumination or brilliance. The deep waves of the seas and oceans and the many other wonders within the creation of the Supreme Person of Godhead all become insignificant when the Lord in his special feature incarnates within this material world. Everything is insignificant in comparison to his personal, all-defeating transcendental qualities. Yaus tat satut shipta vimana sangula proksara patakshma cha pada vibidita chaila samut petura musya samhasa tate jasakam kukabho na rijire. airplanes were thrown into outer space, and the upper planetary system by the hair of Nrsingadev's head. Because of the pressure of the Lord's feet, the earth appeared to slip from its position, and all the hills and mountains sprang up due to his intolerable force. Because of the Lord's bodily effulgence, both the sky and all direction diminished in their natural illumination. Purport. That there were airplanes flying in the sky long, long ago can be understood from this verse. Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken 5,000 years ago, and the statements of this verse prove that the symptoms of a very advanced civilizations then existed, even in the upper planetary systems as well as in the lower planetary systems. Modern scientists and philosophers foolishly explain that there was no civilization prior to 3,000 years ago, but the statement of this verse nullifies such whimsical judgments. The Vedic civilization existed millions and millions of years ago. It existed since the creation of this universe, and it included arrangements all over the universe, which are the modern amenities and even more. Tata sambhayam vashtitam utale dripasane sambrita teja samvibhum alakshita dvairatham atyamara shanam prachanda vaktram na babhaja kashchana. Manifesting a full effulgence and fearsome countenance, Lord Nrsinga, being very angry and finding no contestant to face his power and opulence, then sat down in the assembly hall in the excellent throne of the king. Because of fear and obedience, no one could come forward to serve the Lord directly. Purport. When the Lord sat on the throne of Hiranyakashipu, there was no one to protest. No enemy came forward on behalf of Hiranyakashipu to fight with the Lord. This means that his supremacy was immediately accepted by the demons. Another point is that although Hiranyakashipu treated the Lord as his bitterest enemy, he was the Lord's faithful servant in Vaikuntha, and therefore the Lord had no hesitation in sitting on the throne that Hiranyakashipu had so laboriously created. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that sometimes, with great care and attention, great saintly persons and rishis offer the Lord valuable seats dedicated with Vedic mantras and tantras, but still the Lord does not sit upon those thrones. Hiranyakashipu, however, had formerly been Jai, the doorkeeper at the Vaikuntha gate, and although he had fallen because of the curse of the Brahmanas and had gotten the nature of a demon, and although he had never offered anything to the Lord, as Hiranyakashipu, the Lord is so affectionate to his devotee and servant that he nonetheless took pleasure in sitting on the throne that Hiranyakashipu had created. In this regard, it is to be understood that a devotee is fortunate in any condition of life. Nishamyalokatrayamastaka jvaram tam adidaityam harina hatam ride praharsha vego kalitana muhu prasuna varsaira vavrishu sudashitayaha. Hiranyakashipu had been exactly like a fever of meningitis in the head of the three worlds. Thus, when the wives of the demigods and the heavenly planets saw that the great demon had been killed by the personal hands of the Supreme Person of Godhead, their faces blossomed in great joy. The wives of the demigods again and again showered flowers from the heaven upon Lord Nrsingadev like rain. tadavimanavabhire navhastalam titrikshatam sankulam asanakidam suranakadundo vayota jagdine gandharva mukhya nandrituru jagusriyaha. At that time, the airplanes of the demigods who desired to see the activities of the Supreme Lord, Narayana, crowded the sky. The demigods began beating drums and kettle drums, and upon hearing them, the angelic women began to dance, while the chiefs of the Gandharvas sang sweetly. Tatro pavrajya vibudha Brahmendra Girisharaya Ishaya Pitara Siddha Vidyahara Mahoragaha Manava Pajanam Patayo Gandharvapsara Charanaha Yaksha Kim Purushastata Vetala Sahakinaraha Te Vishnu Parshada Sarve Sunanda Kumudaya Murni Bhajnanjali Puta Asinam Jivra Tejasam Idire Nara Sardulam Nadidura Chara Pritak. My dear King Yudhishthira, the demigods then approached the Lord. They were headed by Lord Brahma, King Indra, and Lord Shiva, and included great saintly persons in the residence of Pithiloka, Siddhaloka, Vidyarada-loka, and the planet of the snakes. The Manus approached, and so did the chiefs of various other planets. The angelic dancers approached, as did the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the inhabitants of Kinnara-loka, the Vetalas, the inhabitants of Kimpurusha-loka, and the personal servants of Vishnu like Sunanda and Kumuda. All of them came near the Lord, who glowed with intense light. They individually offered their obeisances and prayers, their hands folded at their heads. Shri Brahma Vacha Natosmi Anantaya Duranta Shaktaye Vichitra Viryaya Pavitra Karmane Vishvasya Sarga Siti Samyamam Gunai Swalilaya Sandata Vyayatmane. Lord Brahma prayed, My Lord, you are unlimited and you possess unending potencies. No one can estimate or calculate your prowess and wonderful influence, for your actions are never polluted by the material energy. Through the material qualities, you very easily created the universe, maintain it, and again annihilate it. Yet you remain the same, without deterioration, and I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. The activities of the Lord are always wonderful. His personal servants, Jai and Vijay, were confidential friends, yet they were cursed, and they accepted bodies of demons. Again, in the family of one such demon, Prahlad Maharaj was caused to take birth to exhibit the behavior of an exalted devotee. And then the Lord accepted the body of Nrsingadeva to kill that same demon, who by the Lord's own will had taken birth in a demonic family. Therefore, who can understand the Lord's transcendental activities? Not to speak of understanding the transcendental activities of the Lord, no one can understand even the activities of his servants. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 23:39, it is said, Tandra Vakya Kriya Mudra Jahina Bhujaya. No one can understand the activities of the Lord's servants. Therefore, what to speak of the activities of the Lord? Who can understand how Krishna is benefiting the entire world? The Lord is addressed as Duranta Shakti, because no one can understand his potencies and how he acts. Sri Rudra Uvacha Gopakala Yugantaste Hatoyam Asudol Pakan Apaka Tat Sutam Bhati Upasritam Bhaktam Te Bhaktavatsala. Lord Shiva said, the end of the millennium is a time for your anger. Now that this insignificant demon, Hiranyakashipu, has been killed, O my Lord, who are naturally affectionate to your devotee, kindly protect his son, Prahlad Maharaj, who is standing nearby as your fully surrendered devotee. Purport. The Supreme Act of Godhead is the creator The Supreme Person of God is the creator of the material world. There are three processes in creation, namely creation, maintenance, and finally annihilation. During the period of annihilation, at the end of each millennium, the Lord becomes angry, and the part of anger is played by Lord Shiva, who is therefore called Rudra. When the Lord appeared in great anger to kill Hiranyakashipu, everyone is extremely afraid of the Lord's attitude. But Lord Shiva, knowing very well that the Lord's anger is also his lila, was not afraid of Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva, knowing very well that the Lord's anger is also his lila, was not afraid. Lord Shiva knew that he would have to Lord Shiva knew that he would have to play the part of anger for the Lord. Kala means Lord Shiva, Bhairava, and Kopa refers to the Lord's anger. These words combined together are Kopa Kala, refer to the end of each millennium. Actually, the Lord is always affectionate toward his devotees, even though he may appear very angry, because he is Abhyayatma. Sorry, I cannot get. Oh, vielen Dank. Actually, the Lord is always affectionate toward his devotees, even though he may appear very angry. Because he's Avyatma, because he never falls down. Even when angry, the Lord is affectionate toward his devotees. Therefore, Lord Shiva reminded the Lord to act like an affectionate father toward Prahlad Maharaj, who was standing by the Lord's side as an exalted, fully surrendered devotee. Padyani tapparana bhavata tayata na svabhaga daitya krantam niraya kamalam tat griham pradhya tadya bodhi kalagrastam Kiyat idam matonata susatam te muktistesham nahi bahumata narasingha paraikim. King Indra said, O Supreme Lord, you are our deliverer and protector. Our shares of sacrifices, which are actually yours, have been recovered from the demon by you. Because the demonic king Hiranyakashipu was most fearsome, our hearts, which are your permanent abode, were all overtaken by him. Now, by your presence, the gloom and darkness in our hearts have been dissipated. O Lord, for those who always engage in your service, which is more exalted than liberation, all material opulence is insignificant. They do not even care for liberation, not to speak of the benefits of karma, artha, and dharma. Purport. In this material world, there are two kinds of people, the devatas, demigods, and the asuras, demons. Although the demigods are attached to material enjoyment, they are devotees of the Lord who act according to the rules and regulations of the Vedic injunctions. During the reign of Hiranyakashipu, everyone was disturbed in the routine duties of Vedic civilization. When Hiranyakashipu was killed, all the demigods who had always been disturbed by Hiranyakashipu felt relief in their general way of life. Because the government in Kali Yuga is full of demons, the living conditions of devotees are always disturbed. Devotees cannot perform yajna, and thus they cannot partake in the remnants of food offered in yajna for the worship of Lord Vishnu. The hearts of the demigods are always filled with fear of the demons, and therefore they cannot think of the Supreme Person of Godhead. The engagement of the demigods is to think of the Lord always, within the course of their hearts. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 6:47, Yoginam api sarvesham atkatayantaratmana sharavam bhajati yomam same yuktagamo mataha. And of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. The demigods fully absorb themselves in meditation upon the Supreme Person of Godhead to become perfect yogis. But because of the presence of demons, their hearts are filled with the activities of the demons. Thus their hearts, which are meant to be the abode of the Supreme Lord, are practically occupied by the demons. All the demigods felt relieved when Hiranyakashipu was dead, for they could easily think of the Lord. They could then receive the results of sacrifices and become happy, even though in the material world. Shri Shaya Uchu Tvam Nastapa Paramam Mata Yad Atma Tejo Yenidamari Purushatma Gatam Sasakta Tadri Praluptam Amunatya Sharanyapada Rakshakrihita Vabhusha Punar Anvamam Shvataha. All the saintly persons present offered their prayers in this way. O Lord, O Supreme Maintainer of those sheltered at your lotus feet, who originally Personality of Godhead, the process of austerity and penance in which you instructed us before is the spiritual power of your very self. It is by austerity that you create the material world which lies dormant within you. This austerity was almost stopped by the activities of this demon, but now, by yourself appearing in the form of Nrsingadeva, which is meant just to give us protection, and by killing this demon, you have again improved the process of austerity. Purport. The living entities. Oh, ich bin das. 9:30. Wir haben ein bisschen Zeit, ne? Wir essen ja heute nicht, ne? Oder? Oder soll ich stoppen? Na, ihr entscheidet. Macht doch mal eine Abstimmung hier. Soll ich weiterlesen? Oder nicht?
Also mir fällt es schwer, mich noch zu konzentrieren, zumal ich es nur höre.
Bitte?
Mir fällt es schwer, mich zu konzentrieren, zumal ich es nur höre. Also wenn ich es noch lesen kann, dann kann ich der Geschichte besser folgen. Ja.
Dann entscheiden wir uns dafür, dass ihr euch anderweitig beschäftigt im hingebungsvollen Dienst, oder? Ja. Du triffst doch mal eine Entscheidung, du bist ja hier einer der wichtigsten.
Wie lange ist das Kapitel noch?
Keine Ahnung. Ich habe das Buch, wenn man dieses Ding benutzt, kann man das nicht, hat man keinen Überblick. Ha? Ich habe mir das angewohnt, dass wenn große Persönlichkeiten erscheinen, und selbst an Jan Masterling, ne, dass ich einfach aus dem Krishna-Buch vorlese. Das habe ich auch in Schweden auch gemacht. Da sollte ich eine Klasse geben, Jan Masterling. Da habe ich ihm gesagt, so, keiner kann uns besser erklären, was ein Mastin ist, als Srila Prabhupada. Deshalb würde ich euch das vorlesen aus dem Krishna-Buch. Oder zum Beispiel Ratha Yacha lese ich normalerweise das Kapitel, wo Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teilgenommen hat am Rathayat. Das ist so erleuchtend. Ne? Normalerweise geht man raus zum Rathayata und sieht einfach, was heißt einfach, ne? Jagannath, Subhadra und Baladeva. Und man sieht die Devotis und man singt und tanzt. Aber es ist gut, wenn man morgens schon über das Rathayata hört, in Bezug von der Präsenz Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Rathayat. Ne? Das ändert so ein bisschen die ganze Atmosphäre, die man empfindet. Okay, ich werde jetzt aufhören. Ne? Hare Krishna. Jetzt kannst du widersprechen.
Ich habe nichts gesagt.
Okay. Vielen Dank für eure Geduld.
Danke fürs
Reiner
Kommen.
Nektar, oder? Reiner Nektar. Das kann man nicht oft genug hören. Und jedes Mal, wenn man hören, erscheint es neu, oder? Und man hat das Gefühl, das habe ich noch nie gehört. Dies und das. Ne? Obwohl das man so oft gehört hat. Shri Prabhupada ke, Hiranyakashipu ke, Prahlad Maharaj ke, Gaura Premanandi Hare.